Good morning and welcome to the Blue Room, everybody. Thank you for joining. We're going to have some people that are joining still. So we're going to accommodate them, but our commitment was from 11 to 12. So we will start promptly at 11. The webinar is being recorded, guys. So we begin. Again, good morning. Thank you for joining. Lyndon, I have you on. Jeremy, I have you on. I see Keisha, Curly, and I see a lot of people out there. All right, guys. Let's move forward. Integration versus implementation. Just for housekeeping purposes, guys, just to make sure everybody's on the same page, the webinar duration is 45 minutes. We have a Q&A session for 15 minutes, which will take us to 12. Any questions that you have, we prefer just not to stop the webinar. We prefer that you submit the questions in the chat and submit the questions to everyone so everyone is aware of the questions being submitted. All right, and I'm just a little distracted by the people coming in, so let me let them in. All the questions will be pooled and we'll answer them at the end of the session in the Q&A. All right, guys, so good morning again for the people who are just joining. All right, guys, so we have 3 presenters today, including myself. We have Lyndon, that's 2 plus me. So we have Jeremy John, who is our engineer team lead at Blue Networks. Jeremy, good morning.
Morning, Sheldon.
Jeremy's on my left here, guys. We have Lyndon, managing director from Opatri Consulting. Good morning, Lyndon.
Good morning, Jeremy. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me.
And my name is Sheldon Paul, guys. I'm the director of engineering and new business for Blue Networks. Thank you for taking the time. All right, we just want to, again, just stop here just to give the audience an idea of who the presenters are. Lyndon, can we start with you briefly?
All right, so my name is Lyndon Bradford. I am the managing director of a company by the name of Opatri Consulting Limited. I'm a sales enablement coach, which means that I look at the organization's business, not just their sales team, and I look to see where some of the gaps are as it relates to sales and try to see what are some of the best solutions that we can work towards improving the numbers.
Thank you, Lyndon. Jeremy?
Well, my name is Jeremy John. I've been in IT for just over 10 years. I've worked in different areas. So from the person who would hire the consultant to now being the consultant. And I believe that has helped me to grow a lot over my time in IT.
All right, guys, my name is Sheldon Paul. I've been in technology for, I would say, over 20 years. I love telecom and networking. That has been my passion for a long time. And generally, I love everything technology. So I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to share. So thank you for having me. All right, so let's move forward, guys. All right, implementation versus integration, guys. For today's agenda, we're going to have 6 segments, essentially. We're going to start with the discussion. We're going to just sit and talk and really set the stage for what is implementation and what is integration. We're going to look at the customer's perspective. We're going to put ourselves in the customer's shoes, guys. We're then going to have Jeremy work with us to understand the differences between the approaches using a technical scenario. So I'm aware that we have based on the registration, we have a mixture of, let's say, about 50-50 in terms of percentage of the non-technical and the technical people. So we have to work to keep it palatable for everybody so that we understand. Following that, in the 4th segment, we're going to look at the issues and benefits, compare and contrast both approaches. And we're going to look at how do you make the transition across to what we consider the best approach. And we're going to end with the question and answers. All right. For the people that are just joined, thank you very much for taking the time. You haven't missed much. We're on slide 5. Just getting started with the action, guys. All right. Let's have the discussion, guys. What is really, we talk about implementation and integration. What are we really speaking about? So we decided to bring to you from the gurus like Wikipedia and Google, what is the difference? Wikipedia defines implementation as the process of putting a decision or a plan into effect. So from this definition, we understand that implementation is more of an execution type scenario. Let's get it done. On the other hand, Google looks at integration as the process of integrating to combine one thing with another so that they become a whole. So from these two definitions, guys, at least from where we sit, it's clear that they're very different. One is focused on getting it done. The other one is also focused on getting it done, but with some additions. Let's make sure everything sits properly as a whole. So Lyndon, Jeremy, what do you understand, guys? We could start with you, Lyndon. What do you understand as the difference between these two approaches?
I think it's a really excellent topic and question. And it's funny because I would always say that the difference between the two approaches is mindset, right? It really takes a different mindset to understand what the two approaches are, all right? Anyone can implement anything. I could go out there and buy furniture that, and just fit it into my house. But if that furniture doesn't facilitate someone that might be disabled or someone that might be old age, or even in terms of if you're building a house, if you do everything that has a lot of heights, and you have a lot of people who are short, then it's not well integratable within that particular household. So when I look at those two terms, you can implement anything, but at the end of the day, it must work within the ecosystem of wherever it's going to. And that's where the integration part comes in. And that's for me where the mindset part comes in.
And you made a very good point there, Lyndon. You mentioned working itself into the ecosystem. And for some of the people who are on the session that still have no idea what is the big difference. I mean, why are we speaking about these things, guys? You can essentially deliver goods and services to a customer using different approaches. You can essentially just deliver it, move forward, or you can deliver it and make sure it works properly. At a high level, that is what we're trying to refer to or trying to explain from an implementation versus integration type approach. Jeremy, you have anything you want to, what do you understand as being the difference of the two?
Yeah, I agree with Lyndon there, because even in the IT world, you can buy the right equipment, but you can implement it in the wrong way, because you don't take the time to sit with the customer and understand what they have and how what you bought could integrate into their network. So they might have nice, fancy new things, but it doesn't do what they need them to do. So that's the difference between the approaches. One is more of a mentality, as Lyndon said.
Okay, so we're good with saying essentially so implementation is more of an activity rather than integration being more than an approach, more like an approach.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, with that breakdown there, correct.
Okay, from where I sit, guys, I mean, I agree with you. We've been delivering solutions for customers for 8 years, and we've seen a fundamental issue coming from a lot of customers. A lot of people out there believe that the way to deliver goods and services is just by doing just that. This is what the customer wants, just give it to them. That approach, sometimes Lyndon, you may understand, long time the old people used to say, do it right or don't do it at all.
That's correct.
So, a lot of times we take goods and services to customers and the customer may ask for A, but the customer is limited in their knowledge. So they think that A is actually what they're looking for, right? And especially with all the difference in customer buying patterns and so on, I think it makes more sense to really find out, is it A that you really want? You could probably use B. So the point we're making, guys, is that is the fundamental difference. Things have changed. Customers are no longer just sitting and accepting, this is it. You have to come across and really deliver more for the customer. And that is what we really want to deliver, to demonstrate to you today. And again, the only way to understand what is happening out there is to put yourself in the customer's shoes. The customer is the one that pays the bills at the end of the day, guys. We could have no business without customers. So, Lyndon, I know, especially with your consulting and so on, you interact with a lot of people, and this is not necessarily a technical slide, guys. These points actually go beyond just being technical. Lyndon, what would you say from the customer's perspective? Which few points would you pull out as being some of the most superior points?
Wow, yeah, so it's a short list on a on a really loaded pack there, but I would definitely say customers are looking to be given the right guidance, right? So they're not always looking to be sold to. From a customer's perspective, they are looking for someone with a certain level of expertise because yes, you have, as you mentioned just now, you have a lot of customers who are versed. The information is out there. Anybody can Google it, right? But you and I, Sheldon in your space, me in my space, the customers who are actually on this call in their own space, you guys are the subject matter experts.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you have a customer coming with information, you now have to make sure that you help that customer understand that information best suits what is it that the problem that they want to solve. And I think once you start showing that level of expertise, and again, taking the approach to kind of scale back and not just going with the fact to say, okay, well, they want to get this particular piece of software, but now saying, okay, why does that you want to use it? How are you actually going to use it? Who's going to be using it? Who are going to be the users of it? And that in itself, for me, builds a lot of trust. And I think the more you do that, the more your business is going to grow, the more your expertise is going to be a lot better. I think really and truly in the customer's mind too, I think customers also need to change their perspective and not just want things because they figure that they want it, but really understand that the person that you're coming to Bluetooth Networks, you're coming to me, your customers coming to you, they want to get, they have to change that approach to say, all right, you know what, let me allow this person to give me the right guidance on the best solution. So I'd say trust.
Okay, agreed. From where I sit, Jeremy, I'm coming to you. Customers have a lot of things that they expect. Expertise stands out a lot for me because in our space, we've seen the customer frustrated a lot of times when they go out and they look for solutions. And really and truly, guys, to be very honest, it is well within the customer's right to expect that if you are bringing a solution to them, you know everything about that solution. You know exactly what the solution is going to be used for. You know what the customer, want to use it for, and you know how to implement it. So expertise is a given. Customer is well within their right to expect you to be an expert. Experience, in a similar vein, guys. I expect that when you're bringing stuff to me being the customer, you have the necessary experience, right? You have the necessary experience. And when we talk about stuff like, Linda, you touched on trust, and trust to me overlaps into having a genuine concern for what the customer wants to achieve. Because there are a lot of situations where the focus is on selling the product rather than selling the solution. And it shows the customers see it. It actually comes true. The customers see it. So we should have genuine concern for the customer's well-being, which would flow right into the integration approach, as you will see in the slides. If you're only focused on delivering the product, you could deliver the product and you can move on. The customer may be happy, but were you really genuinely concerned about the well-being of the customer's business, where they want to go 2 years, 3 years down the road? So these are some of the things that we've sat and heard customers talk about because they don't see it. They see sales, they see themselves spending money, they see CapEx, they see operational expenses, but a lot of the times they don't see some of those qualities. So these points that we have on the slides here, guys, are what we would have gotten from customers stating that this is all I want from whoever I engage as a consultant. Jeremy, is there anything you wanna add on this slide here? I mean, there are a lot of important points.
Yeah, I look at partnership tying in with the genuine concern because when I look at the relationship with the customer, it's not just about selling them the solution or selling them this piece of equipment. It's about building a sustained relationship to not just help them now, but over time in the future. So as they see that you have a genuine concern for that partnership, and they see that everything that you implement is for their continued operations. So they take it from you now. It's not that in 6 months or 2 months down the road, they need to look for something else. The customer would be able to develop that faith in you, and you would be able to have the longevity of partnership with them.
Great. I also want to touch on solutions and structure, guys. Nobody likes to work with someone who does not want to be part of the solution, right? It's very important that whenever you put yourself in front of a customer, We're here to solve problems. If you're not here to solve a problem, you may not be seen as adding value. And customers do not like people who actually portray themselves as part of the problem rather than being part of the solution. So we have to be very wary of that. From a structure perspective, we've heard a lot of customers and a lot of companies speak about situations where some of these organizations themselves have issues with structure. But the fact is, if you have to do business with an organization, your structure should be in place to allow them to do business with you easily. Anytime a customer has to jump over or jump through hoops and jump over hurdles to do business with you, it is a deterrent. And these are some of the things we heard from these customers out there, and these are the things we think that we should relate to you guys as things to address. And it doesn't matter whether it's a technical solution or not, guys. This holds true for anybody delivering any sort of solution to the customer. From an operational perspective, when customers engage vendors to actually deliver solutions, a lot of the times their concern is how do we deliver the solution, fix the problem, and still sustain my operations? Because nobody wants to stop generating revenue to have to pay a bill. If you understand where I'm coming from, guys. If you have to fix a problem in my business, I need to understand how is my business going to continue to sustain these operations while you do what you have to do. And again, we have to keep putting ourselves in a position to assist the customer and be part of the solution rather than be part of the problem. And a lot of times we adapt this role, well, Mr. Customer is either, if we have to fix this, this is what has to happen. And we need to stop doing that. We need to be part of the solution rather than the problem. Is there anything else you guys want to add on this slide?
I agree with the point you made there, Sheldon.
Yeah, not a lot. I think the point, the main thing is, remember, we always have to keep focused on what the customer wants. So as you were just mentioning there, right? So what a lot of what's happening in the environment right now is that because of scale back revenues and everything else, people are just hustling to deliver to the customer, which is on the implementation side of things, right? So we really have to change, but to really have a long-standing relationship, because just delivering a product today for today, or just delivering a solution for today is only, that's like retail sales. If you really want to work towards building a long-standing relationship with a customer, where you talk about things like customer lifetime value, years upon years of added value relationship, then you really have to take a much deeper approach in terms of how that customer is looking at growing. And even when it comes to experience, people can be experienced, but experienced in delivering the wrong thing. If they don't change your thinking, because the customer environment could change, and you could be very, very stuck in doing the same thing the old way and not realizing that you're missing out because your customers are moving on, they're growing. So I think that's maybe the last thing I really want to leave there in terms of how we should change our perspective on the customer.
Yeah. Okay, Lyndon, again, forgive me. I like to do this. I want us to leave this slide by having the people on the line understand why are we speaking about this. So why is this so important? What is happening in the business environment that we now have to sit and speak about these two simple terms, these two approaches, implementation versus integration? I mean, I would start by saying that, as I mentioned before, customer buying patterns have changed. The average customer last year or 2 years ago is not the average customer now. The knowledge of these customers have changed. These people, they are a lot more demanding, rightfully so. So we as providers, we as people providing any sort of business service or solution, we have to step up our game and really look beyond just delivering the product and look towards delivering the solution and making the customer happy. Yeah. All right, guys. So I want to pass this to Jeremy now to actually bring a scenario to illustrate, the difference in approaches. Jeremy.
Right. So the scenario is a typical one. It's an insurance company in Trinidad with 4 locations. So there's the head office in Chaguanas, there's a disaster recovery or backup site in Chaguanas, in Port of Spain, sorry, and then there are 2 other branches. So it's a common setup that we would see all about. Now, this here shows the setup of the company. So the Shoguna's location has the data center and owns the majority of the services. So that's the most important location for the business. And the Port of Spain site, this is the backup site. So all of the backup for those services is there, along with 2 critical applications that are being hosted. And at the other site is just regular users coming to work and they're accessing all these services over the WAN at Shoguna's. So it's a typical setup that we see all over the environment. So it may be 2 locations, it may be 3, but the template is the same. Right. So now, when we looked at the scenario there, the customer put out an RFP because they needed to change out some of the network equipment at their branches. They were experiencing failures and so on because some of the devices are end of life and some of them just can't handle the load that they would be facing today. So the RFP only spoke about replacing the WAN routers and replacing the core switch at the head office. In the customer's mind, that's all that they need to do to resolve any issues that they're facing. And if we look at the image on the next slide, you would see the high level setup of this topology. The image on the previous slide, sorry, where the customer has the layer 2 WAN connecting all the sites. So they believe that all these 4 devices here with the WAN routers and the one switch at the head office, replacing those are rip and replace would solve all the problems. So now we would look at the different approaches that we could go to addressing this RFP. Right, so the first approach we could take is the implementation approach. So this just focus on addressing the requirements of the RFP. The RFP said we need these equipment with these specifics. So we would look at buying equipment to meet or exceed those requirements. So that would just focus on upgrading the end-of-life equipment, so the WAN routers and the switch, and expect that that would address all the issues in the network, the performance issues and the failing devices. Say this implementation approach would fix everything. Now the question is, would that resolve all of the customers' issues? What do you think, Sheldon?
Jeremy, I think you know where I stand with respect to that. The answer is no. The customer would have put out, and just to clarify some terms that you use in your explanation for some of the guys who are on the call that are not technical. The customer would have put out a document requesting some services, right? A lot of the times, these documents are written internally. And again, the customers are not the experts. So we as providers should expect some level of error in those documents. And based on what you explained here, Jeremy, the focus was on just delivering like for like, correct? So in other words, the customer asked for 4 devices, they would have delivered 4 devices. All right, but the customer also had within the list of, in the scenario, the customer also said that they were having network issues, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
I don't see anything in this design speaking towards addressing the network scenarios. I see upgraded equipment. So I see the customer benefiting from increased speed just by economies of scale and using newer equipment. I see them benefiting from a more stable environment. But there were underlying issues and the customer expressed that. The customer may not have understood what those underlying issues were, but they don't have to. They don't have to.
And that's the reason for the question to the corner there. Will the customer be happy? So when we replace the equipment, they may see increased speed as you mentioned, and they may see some of the issues disappear. But would 6 months down the road, would a year down the road, would the customer be experiencing some of the same underlying issues again? Would the customer now come back and say, the equipment that you delivered doesn't meet my needs, although that's what they specified in the RFP? So this shows some of the limitations in the approach. It might give you the new equipment, but it mightn't, it wouldn't future-proof the design for the customer.
Lyndon, I come into you, I see that smile on your face there. I know you've experienced similar scenarios like this. I want to ask a question. Jeremy, why do we care? I mean, I got a list from you stating that I need to fix this, and I fixed it. Why am I now confusing myself, stressing out my team with potentially doing more? I mean, why am I doing that? Why can't I just implement this and move forward?
Well, as we was discussing on the other slide, is about the partnership and the genuine concern for the customer. So it's not about just making the money. It's about ensuring that when the customer is finished with you, the customer is a happy customer. Because a happy customer would always come back because they see the value of the partnership. So then they may even ask the question, if you looked hard enough when you were providing the solution for them, if they encounter an issue just 6 months down the road. So that's why we would always make the extra effort to ensure that when we deliver something, the customer is.
Jeremy, you sound like you rehearsed that, but I know you mean it. I really know you mean it. Lyndon, I mean, I know this is a technical slide, but from a business standpoint, you want to jump in here? I mean, what are your thoughts on what was proposed here in terms of the approach and where would it put the customer?
Yeah, I mean, again, guys, as I say, y'all are, we okay. So for the audience that would, of course, not be very familiar with me, I mean, I came out of a technical company 18 months ago, right? And a lot of what you guys are talking about here, even though it wasn't the exact solution that we provided, excuse me, we did provide technical solutions to organizations. So what I was doing, I was trying to figure out which one of the examples I want to give you all to really understand. As Jeremy spoke about things like the being future proof. So I'll use one that was a really big example for me. When I first got into the organization, this was maybe about 10 years ago, my first year, we had a major group company that decided to no longer continue our services. Why? Because of the fact that we were just replacing devices like for like, which is exactly what Jeremy would have just said, right? So the customer had a history over about a six-year relationship, replacing devices. Of course, the customer, of course, is now thinking, okay, so where do I want to go in the next year? So when you just mentioned future proof, that really triggered the question. Now, mind you, and I want to bring it into a little bit here with numbers. This customer sort of generated just around $576,000 in revenue for the organization at the time, because we were meeting their needs in terms of taking them where they were supposed to go. Until that day when we just felt as though we were going to make the switch, and we were not taking the time to really understand the customer's growth pattern, where it is they want to go and integrate, because they had the particular needs. But my guys, we were not asking the customers those things throughout the life of the relationship. The customer one day said, hey, you know what, hey, thanks for the services, but we're going elsewhere, so we can cancel the contract. I can't tell you all, when you have a major group company and a major subsidiary within a group company saying we don't want the services anymore, we're going somewhere else, which just happened to be out of the group, how everything flares up. Everybody have to answer questions. My tail was on the line. So, but it really came back to when we really found out from the customer, why is it you really wanted to change? They had a vendor telling them, okay, the customer told the vendor, we want to go in this direction. The vendor said, yeah, we could do this, and we could also take it here. The funny thing is that we could have done the same thing. Guess what? The customer said, but yeah, then you all never told us that. You all never took that approach for us. You all just came back and gave us another contract with the same set devices. That's why, again, it is so important to really look, and I want to speak on it from two perspectives. From a customer, look for somebody who's seeking your interest. I think we had all right to lose that opportunity, right? And we did lose it. We licked our wounds. We get lashed across the back from the CEOs and the executive directors and stuff like that. So customers really have the power to look for a provider that best seeks their interest. Anyone that's on this webinar who is a service provider, you have to really be on your P's and Q's to make sure that wherever your customer is going is where you're going with the customer. You don't really dictate the pace, right? Meaning that the customer knows where they want to take their business. You're not doing their business for them, but you are supporting them in getting there. That's where the partnership and trusted advisor, where all those sexy terminologies come in. To put a different spin on the story, because we learned that lesson, and this is why it's so important, right? Because we learned that lesson, we were able to come back to that customer 3 years after, and we took the learnings from that. and show the customer, okay, so you were able to reach this particular point. This is where we want to take you. And we were able to close the account. Instead of making 500K plus in 3 years, we were actually able to make 1.6 million in an additional 3 year, in another 3-year term. So we were able to give them more, and we grew the account. I think after I've left the organization, I think they're going back into another 6-year term. So again, from a customer perspective and from a service provider perspective, integration, like we were just trying to implement. We were just saying, okay, well, what I have, so internally we are assessing the customer and we're trying to just implement the same devices, whereas the customer's changing needs is happening.
So,
whereas,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Lyndon.
Yeah, whereas we at the tail end, we kind of burn to learn here, right? At the tail end, we decided, you know what, let's really work on integrating our solution, and we had also matured as a department, right? Because we understood now, we changed our focus towards the customer, the buyer. We changed up the solution offerings, and we were able to gain a lot more. We had a better appreciation as to who our customers were there, and we really focus on their success and not just our money.
Okay, so if you have to look back now, Lyndon, at the previous engagement, not the one when you all came back and adjusted the approach, would you say that you all would have added value with that first interaction? In
the beginning, when we lost it?
Yeah.
Nah, we weren't. You see, we were not giving them any value. The customer realized they wanted more, and because of our implementation approach, they made the assessment that these guys can't give us what we're looking for.
It's not that you didn't have the equipment or you didn't have the solution.
We had the expertise. Our approach is wrong. Our mindset in terms of dealing with servicing our customers was wrong. Hence the reason why we lost it.
Right. And guys, that is one of the fundamental differences in the approach that we're talking about here. So that's an excellent example, Lyndon, for bringing a non-technical example there. So the previous scenario that Jeremy just went through, guys, where that provider essentially just replaced like for like, added no value to the customer's business in the long run. That now we're going to look at the other approach. We're going to look at the integration approach. The focus here is on delivering a solution. We're not focused on boxes here, guys. We're not focused on devices. From where we sit, devices and boxes make up a solution. Right? You need to go beyond. You need to fully understand the customer's requirements and put yourself in the customer's shoes. What can I do to add value? And you may ask yourself, well, Sheldon, I really want to add value, but adding value will cost $1 million. Just giving them what they want going to cost $900,000. That's not your decision to make. That's not your decision. Add value to the customer. The example Lyndon just put on the table there. They went with the $900,000 solution, assuming that that's what the customer wanted. But they didn't dig deep. They didn't take the conversations forward. And they lost it just because they assumed what the customer would have wanted. So you need to give the customer the benefit of the doubt here. All right? So Jeremy, I'm going to leave you to go through the second scenario, focusing on the integration approach.
Okay. Right. So this approach is different. So I don't know if you had noticed that the diagram is a bit different as well. So while they requested that we replace these devices here facing the WAN, we took a different approach. We asked the customer what they wanted, not just now, but in the future. So they were looking to become a bit more security focused. They didn't just want to have a network where everybody could access all the files and stuff on the servers. They wanted some sort of separation inside of their network. So we said, okay, instead of just buying routers to replace the routers that you have, we could buy these things called next generation firewalls, which are basically, they could do routing, but with an added level of security to them. So this would have benefited the customer. So this solution wasn't just, so this integration wasn't just on delivering the solution, but it was focused on speaking with the customer and finding out what they really needed. So it's not just about saving the cost, but it was also able to help them save some money. So if you look at the diagram, they were able to replace some of the provider links with some cheaper internet links by just using the built-in capabilities of these replaced devices. So they were able to save some money while increasing the speed to the branches. Remember, persons at the branches were complaining about slow speeds over the WAN. Replacing the devices may not have necessarily fixed that problem because the size of the WAN links may not have changed. So by going with something like a cheaper internet link and still providing that WAN connectivity using something called VPNs for security, the users would be happy. And then we give them redundancy by still allowing them to keep the provider WAN between the head office and the data center site. So they receive new technology. They future-proof the environment by saying the things that we were looking to do 6 months down the road or a year down the road, we could have achieved now by spending the same or slightly more money, but not having to go to another RFP to replace the equipment that was just bought. So the customer would look back and say, this engagement was a fruitful one because we achieved our goals and we're not having any of the same issues that we'd have had. And that's the reason for justifying the spend of the RFP. So, that's it.
Can I add something there?
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason why I really appreciate this is because it's really, really focused on the customer at no expense to anybody else, meaning that you provided a solution where you may have a provider who might say, yeah, but we could make more money if we sell them this. Right now, the customer may or may not be none the wiser. I mean, you do have some very versed technical resources in organizations today, which I think that, I mean, they're supposed to be like that because you have to seek your organization's best interests and not just allow the provider to sort of take advantage of you, right? But it really looks at, you are giving these people a solution where you're saying, yo, you could take these smaller cost solutions and still get the same effect. If I had to do one smaller example, is that we were able to grow, this is formerly Petrotrin, so I can call the name because they don't exist anymore. But just before they sort of folded up, they actually came back to us with some reports on money that we were actually helping them to save. And it's funny because we were actually help them save that by taking money off of our table as well. We saw that the customer over a 3-year period was not using all of the pieces of equipment that they initially asked for. So what we did is that we went back to them because, again, you're studying your customer's environment. Again, when you burn hard, you learn big lessons. And we said, you know what, take off these 4 pieces of equipment and all of your devices, and you're going to save about $1 million. Now we could say, oh, that's $1 million lost to us. Yeah, but in the longer term, you can get back, from a service provider standpoint, you get that back later on long term because you're facilitating the customer. You have a longer lasting relationship. That's how you become a trusted person, a trusted advisor. And for the customer, that $1 million goes back into their bottom line somehow. And that's really, again, is the mindset from a business acumen standpoint to say, listen, this is the best thing that we can give to the customer, regardless as to whether we feel we can make money on the client or not. And taking that approach requires a lot of maturity. So I really do admire what you guys did there.
Thanks, Lyndon. And just before we jump out of this slide, guys, what I want to point out here, we need to look also at a lot of the additional business benefits that were brought here. This is a financial institution. Financial institutions now are being regulated more so than ever. So they have to be responsive with how they transmit data to and from their organizations. This solution would have offered a risk mitigation strategy for that with encryption. This solution would have offered some alternative to reduce operational expense by actually using the next generation firewalls and being able to use lower price links. I know I have some providers on the line, so they will understand the difference between a broadband link and a leased circuit. You know, so you may see it initially as wow, I moved from selling 4 devices to 8. That's a big sale, but we need to look past that. We need to look at the additional business benefit, and that is what we need to put towards the customer. That is the integration approach, guys. Let's solve the problem, not focus on the cost. So I really like this. This added significantly more value than the initial solution. Bearing in mind, though, the initial solution could be argued that we answered all their requirements, but those were the requirements on paper that the customer, in their limited knowledge, was able to put on paper. So we need to give respect where respect is due, guys. We are the experts, right? Remember, they're expecting us to know better. So let's be responsible and put what is necessary on the table. So this solution was solid, Jeremy. Well done. So let's look at some of the issues and benefits of this approach, the two approaches, guys. So we literally just put one table here, looking at the implementation focus versus the integration focus, and we could infer, right? We could infer the benefits and the benefits and issues. So the implementation focus, based on the other options that we had there, guys, it's clear that it was just focused on equipment delivery, whereby the integration focus approach was focused on delivering a solution end to end for the customer. Equipment versus solution is a huge difference, right? As well as we have equipment functionality on the implementation type approach. Yeah, I mean, the provider would have known exactly what these devices would have done. But in the context of understanding what the organization wants to do, no, they didn't demonstrate that. So on the integration side, we really understood what the organization wanted to do and put the relevant devices in place. Of course, this would have had to have come with a series of additional questions and meetings and so on, but that's the name of the game, guys. So look at the implementation side where there's a focus on knowledge of equipment, as opposed to the integration side where there's a focus on knowledge of customer environment. To become a trusted advisor, it doesn't matter how much you know your devices. You have to you have to combine that knowledge of your equipment with the customer's environment. You have to show that you care, guys. Show that you care, and the customer sees it, right? And on the implementation side, from where we sit, we being engineering company, they adapted more of a technician type role. You want 4 devices, we give you 4. On the integration side now, it's more of a consultant role. It's like a doctor. We are here to fix your problems. Linda and Jeremy, I don't know if there's anything else you all want to add to this slide.
I would always say, I mean, from where I sit now, in terms of my role as a sales enablement consultant, for me, you see that those last 2 points were more of a technician role, more of a consultant role. It is really where I'm trying to get more salespeople to be. It's a change I had to make. I was just a standard salesperson. Customers say they want X, all right, well, here, But over the years, I found that I had a lot more success. I had customers who were a lot happier. Excuse me. When I took the time to give them what it is that they not just give them exactly what they're asking for, but took the time to find out a little bit more about them. Even when you spoke about the RFP stuff in the beginning, there's no problem asking a customer if the customer submits an RFP and you were not part of that decision, the development of the RFP. Put a couple questions forward to them. Have you considered X? Because again, you are looking at the longevity of the customer's business. If you do a good job by doing that, then of course you gain better customer interest, get better customer trust, and of course you get the ability to deliver spot on. So I really think a lot of the things now are supposed to be more consultative than just technical.
Agreed. Jeremy, good?
To me, the equipment functionality and the organizational functionality play a big role, because if you implement and the equipment is capable, but the customer keeps having to call you back, well, we needed to adjust this and we needed to adjust that, it could, one, detract from the customer's confidence in you because they keep having to call you back to fix issues. When instead, when you integrate, you look at what the organization needs the equipment to do. It would lead to less customer callbacks. You could put in the equipment and rest safe that everything that they need is now functioning. So the customer would be happy and they would say, hey, Blue put this in and we don't need anything again. We could look to Blue again in the future.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. And so we've highlighted the problems that we've seen in the environment. We've created 2 scenarios, comparing and contrasting both. What about advising on how do you make this transition? So organizations, sales people out there, business development managers, I know I have some BDMs on the call as well. How do you make that transition from just approaching the customer at a high level? Let me just fix what you want me to fix. How do you make that transition to now being a trusted advisor? We had some recommendations highlighted, guys, and you would have seen this phrase, to be exact, in 3 of these slides. It's not about you. It's not about you guys.
Oh, sorry. You were asking us to. Sorry, I may have missed it. You're asking us, or you're continuing on your side, chilling.
So I was going to ask you one time anyway,
Okay.
Lyndon, so you can go ahead. Sorry.
All right. So I'll just stick with two, which is mindset and action, right? So you really have to change your mindset, and you have to start now adopting and acting along those particular things. So you have to change your mindset and develop on the learnings. I believe in something called change, create difference, achieve. It's part of the philosophy of the company. Change your philosophy, change your routines, create opportunities, make a difference, and achieve. So that change aspect is really good, is really important. And of course, your actions are very, very important. You have to really, because where it says adopt a partnership approach, that's where your actions have to start coming into play. So the customer will start feeling that you're seeking their interest. You're not just trying to, give them something for giving them something sake. And again, just to maybe reiterate, if there are any potential customers on this call for Blue Networks, is to really also seek the guidance, like really take the time to listen. I was sharing with Sheldon and Day yesterday that there was a client that she wanted X, and we saw what her environment was, and she said, no, just give me this. And I said, all right, no problem. So we gave her what she wanted, but we made a recommendation in it there as well. 6 months later, however, she called back and she said, yo, you all sold me the wrong thing. And we said, yo, while we understand how you may feel, we did make a recommendation and this is what you want. This is what you said that you wanted. And you made the decision because she felt that was the best thing for her, while she's coming to us as the quote unquote the expert. So I know, I'm looking at it on both sides. I know how customers are sometimes in relation to, no, we feel we need this. Whereas you may have a service provider that's saying, yo, but guys, have you looked at what may happen 6 months down the road or tomorrow? So it's really a level of growth and maturity on both sides, both on the standpoint of the customer, but from on the service providers end. So we can help really working and coaching our customers to start recognizing, okay, well, maybe I need to change my mindset as a customer as to how a vendor is supposed to engage with me.
Yeah, no, agreed. But those things happen. I mean, you could try as much as you want to make recommendations sometimes, and customers will go in the direction that they feel is correct, and it may not be in the direction that you're proposing. I think we need to be strong with it. So I can see that situation. I would just like to touch on being solution focused and being the expert. Again, we mentioned this before. The customer expects that when you come to the table, you come at a particular level, right? I've seen situations where people drop solution PDFs for the customer. Read this and tell me what you think, okay? They have no idea what they're reading half of the times, right? So you be the expert, you advise the customer, focus on delivering the solution. Don't bring problems to the customer. That's the customer's job. The customer's job is to bring the problems.
Yeah, but if they can't understand what is on the document, that's a problem in itself.
True. I guess the point I'm making is it's supposed to be with your guidance, not.
Yeah, no. Whoever gave them that document gave them another problem because they don't have to interpret this information.
Yeah, and I guess it's how you approach it, guys. And what we're trying to say is that you need to look at that mindset and truth. Jeremy, you wanna add anything there before we go to Q&A?
Yeah, well, I agree with points 1 and 4 especially because it's never about you. Because as the integrator, you might look and say, well, they asked this on the RFP. There's the easier approach. I could do this and save myself some time. But the integration approach now, it will involve some hard work, probably multiple meetings with the customer, trying to get them to see how this could benefit them. And our time to be solution focused. So it will involve more hard work. It will be better in the long run, not just for the customer, but for you as well. So it's the approach that we should always try to do. As Lyndon said, it's a shift in mindset.
Yeah. And I think too, when you say hard work, Jeremy, I think if you do it the first time, because what we found is that any initial change, the first couple times we do it, but by the time you reach your third, fourth, or fifth client, it becomes now part of the norm. You get to realize, okay, these are the couple patterns. You may have a couple shifts because customers are different, but it may not be as difficult as it is in the beginning with certain things with the customer. And then the customer appreciates that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. It's 11:40. 9. So you're just 4 minutes behind the Q&A. So this is where you ask the questions. I haven't seen any questions so far. Let me just check. Jeremy, I don't know if you've seen any questions in chat. I have no questions. I realize a lot of people joining late. So, all right. So in the absence of having any questions from the audience, I mean, let me ask a question, guys. So and this is for both Lyndon and Jeremy, if I am an institution or I am an individual who would have traditionally operated in a particular way, i.e. the implementation type approach, and I am now about to make this transition. So we're talking about shifting mindsets and that kind of stuff. Will I be the only person required to make that change in my organization, or am I looking at back-end processes, support staff, or what type of transition? And Lyndon, this may be probably a question for you as well from the business side. What type of transformation or change are we looking at?
Yeah, I am. I do believe that it's not just that department. It could actually affect the entire organization. I am actually now, excuse me. This morning I had a conversation with a client, and the customer is saying, "Yo, we really need help with sales." And I'm saying, it's just you really need to change your approach to sales. So I'm really now showing that my goal now is to help show them, not from just that department, but from an entire organizational standpoint, that the organization needs to change its approach as to how it goes about doing certain things. And again, too, when I did copiers, imaging, and printing solutions, it was more than just how much prints you're doing, but we had to now say, this is how the organization should be printing. This is how the workflow. Imagine when you're doing copiers talk, it's not a matter of speeds and fees. We started to talk workflow. Yeah. This is how the workflow should actually work. This is how you should go about streamlining your scanning processes. So it is not just a matter of the answer to your question is yes, once done well, it could impact the entire organization in a real positive way.
Okay. Jeremy, you want to add there before I go into this other question? I have a question from Robert Thompson.
You go ahead with the question. I think while we answer the question, we might get a bit more on it.
Okay, the question from Robert, guys, wouldn't this integration approach put more stress on my company? What incentive do I really have to go in this direction, especially when I'm closing sales as is? So 3 questions actually. So let me start first, guys. Robert, I mean, thank you for the question and thank you for joining. Wouldn't this integration approach put more stress on my company? I would say initially it might, especially if it's a huge change, in the sense that if the organization was operating at a point where they were so far gone as in really not generally concerned about the customer and just focus on closing sales and so on, you would have already created an impression in the customer's mind. So from that standpoint, there may have to be a change in your frontline approach and so on. So you may consider that drastic, or you may consider that stress because people have to change their habits and so on. But other than that, I think it's a necessary change because I don't think it's a sustainable way of doing business. I think after a while, these people will see right through it, and your competitors are going to step right in because they will off the bat seem like they're genuinely concerned more, and they may be. The other part of your question, what incentive do I really have to go in this direction? My answer would be very similar. I do not think using the integration or less thorough approach is a sustainable business model. I think that ship has sailed. I think our customers and their patterns are changing that. So whether we believe it or not, customers are not accepting what they used to accept years ago. So I think we'll be forced to go in that direction. And your last point, especially when I'm closing sales, similar answer. You're closing sales now, and there will always be people willing to buy just based on a transactional type model. But from where we sit, or at least where I sit, I think the real value is becoming closer to your customer because, as Linda knows, people buy on emotion. People will buy from you when they're connected to you. And using the integration approach, you get closer to them by virtue of the nature of the approach itself. So those would be my answers though. Linda and Jeremy, I don't know if you want to add anything else. You have some more questions coming in, but add them.
I agree with you there, Sheldon, and it might be a simple example, but for instance, the person I buy fruits from, I go out of my way to buy from them just because when I go, they ask me questions like who the fruits is for, if it's for the baby and so on. So they might give me things that he could eat more easily. So is him taking the approach that to show that he cares about me and not just about the sale, has me going about 10 minutes out of my way to get the fruit. So now your customers seeing that you put this extra effort, although you could already close the sale, might make them think, hey, this person cares about me. Let me come back by them because what I get from them might be better than the other person.
That's a very good example, Jeremy. And 10 minutes out of your way is a long way. So that's a good example. Linda, you have anything to add to this answer?
Yeah, it's a couple of things. I'll maybe start with the end. That when Robert asks about when he has to close sales, I will mention to you, Robert, if you have not heard or read the book or listened to the audiobook from Kevin Davies that says slow down, sell faster, I would strongly recommend it. He also has another one that says getting into your customer's head. Strongly recommend that too as well, because those two books really, excuse me, spell out why we need to make that particular change, right? Because of the fact that you would always now just be trying to close sales, close sales, close sales. In terms of the time frame, you could always scale it. We could not, when we decided to change our approach, we moved from selling product to selling services. Guess what? The services incorporated the product, right? We didn't get rid of the product. So we just changed how we sold our services or how we started to communicate the services to the customer. So so yes, we were still selling copiers, but we gave it the terminology of a managed service, but it meant that we had to now take a different approach in how we sell. Yes, it takes time. You have to inculcate new teachings with the team. You have to take a different approach sometimes with the service department, but it benefited us in the long run because we had, and if you're talking sales here, I'll drop some numbers. We had some of our highest margins in terms of business in the long run because we were able to win and turn over business. We turned over our customer base much, much faster, existing customer base, and we were able to attract a lot more customers, gaining somewhere maybe between 60 to 75% up in terms of margin, right? The incentive is that from a business standpoint, but you have a much longer term incentive because your company will grow. You'll have a different image in relation to that in your customers. So you have many different ways that you can look at that. So that's all I wanted to answer your question there, Robert. Good question, though.
Okay, we have about 3 more minutes and we just need to get through. But Linda, now I want you to touch on this next. Robert had a next question actually. What would you say is the most important step in making that transition to the integration approach?
Wow. The next step is really pulling your key stakeholders together, identifying where the gaps is and where it is that you guys want to be, and then starting to put things in place. Remember, it really starts in a mindset. You can't move forward unless you really recognize where you are at right now. And 50% of any solution is first identifying where the problem or the gap. It doesn't have to be a major issue, where the gap is. So it would really start from identifying, okay, we want to go here, but this is what we're doing right now. What adjustments do we have to make? And I'll tell you, Robert, I had to sell the philosophy of how we changed our sales approach to senior management because of the fact that we were competing with everybody else. But as soon as we started to go in as consultants, as soon as we started to close 1 or 2 deals, because you had to prove it as well. And I started to do it from up front. So I started to test it, beta, if you want to call it that. And we did see the customer's approach. We did see the customer having a different level of appreciation. But it really starts by getting the key stakeholders together, sharing what the vision is, properly identifying as to what, not just the vision from a motivational standpoint, but from what the total benefit is going to be from a business standpoint as well, long-term and also short-term, and then start scaling accordingly.
Yeah, good answer. I would add to that, Robert. I honestly think that the biggest challenge would be the shift in mindset. or the most important step would be the shift in mindset, because you have to change, fundamentally, you have to change the way that you operate. You have to change the approach. You have to want to dig deep. You have to want to be concerned about the customer. You have to try to divorce yourself from the approach of just being focused on closing the sale. And that's tough for a lot of people. So I would say that that's a very important step as well. Just it's just approaching 12, guys, and we committed to you that we'll keep you an hour. We really appreciate the time. We really appreciate the questions, guys. You can schedule meetings with any of us. We have the contacts on the screen right now. We are going to make this webinar available via our YouTube channel. So for the guys that would have missed it, it's going to be available. It's recorded right now. And we want to continue following up, right? We want to continue following up, guys. So Blue is willing to offer consultation, well, free 1-hour consultations for the next month, all right? But you have to use the promo code implementation versus integration. So whatever requests you're making to us, to come, look at my environment, etc., it must come with that promo code. We really want to hear from you guys. You want to get closer to you guys. So use this opportunity to not have any cost and get us into your environment. We really appreciate the time and the opportunity. Guys, yeah. We're good, guys. Thank you very much for the time. Lyndon, thank you for your time. Jeremy, thank you for your time. We have people as far as Virginia, US, Trinidad, some other islands. We really appreciate the time, guys.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Jeremy, for
good afternoon.
Thank you guys for having me. It was an excellent discussion.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining the Blue Room.